Good afternoon. This,
No.
this is Dr. Sai Bhaskar Reddy. Today we are discussing with Sri Sudhakar Reddy Garu, an eminent agriculturist and an engineer. And the topic is integrity in agriculture, cropping pattern. Cropping pattern is under discussion because there is a glut of goods produced, or sometimes the government is not able to provide the right price to the farmers, or the farmers crops are also failing because of other conditions which are natural as well as man-made, where the irrigation water supply may not be sufficient to provide. And there is also government need to plan a lot on the inputs, subsidies, and need to address the various existing schemes to support a farmer. So in this scenario, now one of the fundamental questions, sir, that we are discussing today is it possible to bring up certain policies or suggestions or guidance or information based systems which could help a farmer to adapt to this choice of crop apart from the existing local conditions? So I would like to know from you, sir, what is your opinion in this regard?
You see, as a farmer, I have been facing so many agroclimatic variations. Variabilities are too many, and therefore it is difficult to predict and then plan these cropping patterns and systems. So, as the topic goes, firstly, unless we keep the sustainability of nature in mind, irrespective of our agroclimatic bonds, and then the relevant crop patterns that which we try to plan. See, the sustainability of nature should help the sustainability of the agriculture, which in turn will keep the welfare of the farm. Therefore, all these factors matter, as we have been constantly discussing over a number of topics on and off. And as a seasoned farmer, with varied experience in different rain-fed crops and then irrigation crops and horticulture crops and agroforestry and other agricultural crops. What I would like to say is the farmer is dependent on social and then physical and then economic factors. See, firstly, he has to think of his livelihood and his life. So the basic factor that comes to his mind is obviously the price, irrespective of all other factors, although they will constrain the total issues in agriculture. Therefore, the pattern of cropping does matter in relation to nature first, followed by the climatic zones, the diversity of the climatic zones as applicable to his area. Unfortunately, we have so much of diversity in this agroclimatic aspects like rainfall, temperature, other aspects like that, like climate. So what does happen to the farmer is he can't keep the economic factor alone in his mind, because there comes a day when with thunderstorms and other things they do matter. Therefore, some anticipation also should be there for the governments. So when we decide the crop pattern for certain areas, obviously we have got to take agroclimatic aspects in the mind, and then decide whether we go for a particular type of crop like rice or cotton if it is rain-fed or red gram rain-fed. So all these factors they do come in. And then besides the soil fertility, and then the practices, agricultural practices. Agriculture practices will be followed by the agricultural, the cropping pattern or the cropping system like intercropping or mixed cropping. Above all, the rotation of the cropping is very, very important. That can't be forgotten because the rotation does help the farmer to balance between nutrients and micronutrients.
If
So,
we
like,
get back to the historic things, sir, just for the sake of understanding why the cropping patterns and choices are limited now. Historically, India had been the dominant agriculture based economy country, and majority lived on agriculture, and subsistence farming was the number one thing. So, since 60s, for say self-reliance security reasons, between 60s and 80s, the government focused on the improved production. So, introduction of hybrid varieties and with improved economy and also the cost of crops is very also changed. So, traditionally, the millets and other crops which dominate, no rice and wheat crops dominate, even in agriculture change. So, similarly, if we again the market is still risky, and now finally, people are thinking how to reduce the input cost. So, there is a complete scenario and trend that is happening now where we see that the cropping pattern in the last this 70 years or so has been influenced by the systems. So how do you see this historic changing crop pattern? Yeah.
so in other words, when the economic factor does come in here, obviously the farmer will be constrained or will be forced to choose what goes well with the crop. Say, for example, you have for the limited conditions of irrigation or some medium conditions of irrigation, the rice, see, people tend to use the rice as preferable crop, irrespective of its saleability at a later stage. This is where there comes a point when whether the government has to control the crop or best be left to the farmer, irrespective of what happens in the scenario of demand and the supply balancing conditions at later stage when crops come after harvesting. And in addition to another factor like agroclimatic zone, on which both government nor the farmer they have control on those factors, like too much of rain coming at a point and then followed by too much of crop, especially for rain-fed crops. If it is the other crop, it's okay to some extent the irrigation can manage. If there is another factor other than water and then climate does matter, the farmer will have no say in his further continuance. See, his future will be in dark. So, what would be the science and technology that come to the rescue of farmer to overcome these ill effects? Anyway, the hailstorm, nobody can do anything. That is nature's fury. If it is is controllable and within the reach of the humans, where science and technology, the influences can matter, then the technology's part will have to be the uplifted with these technological approaches. So this is where the institutions like CREDA, they have to play a major role in trying to decide two things. One is anticipating the climate. The technology should think of anticipating rain at least 1 week, 10 days before. You don't need 1 month or 2 months forecast. So that the farmer will be well prepared to decide the crop pattern and the time of sowing. See, early timing, early sowing will always help the farmer. And the statistics show that earlier you sow the seed. It's always better for the harvesting at an appropriate time later, either for rice or for rain-fed crops. So therefore, crop patterns will be decided on based on so many other factors other than agroclimatic. So these factors of anticipating the natural effects, see, is really playing a lot of thing on the farmer's fate. So therefore, the state of the crop and fate of the farmer, they go together, it appears, say, in Indian conditions as times go, especially in the face of climate change. This is where governments also will have no control as to how they can decide, see, a particular crop in advance. So if crop has stability and then prices are stabilized, governments can easily control this. This is where
Unless, maybe I'd like to add, unless the farmers have the freedom to, about seed especially, also they need to buy and they need to have this, nowadays they are dependent on government schemes like Raitu Bandhu for inputs. So all these things are also influencing a farmer's decision in for sowing, and also the last price of the particular produce is influencing the farmer. And what is happening that the last price is making them to go again in a larger area, the same crop which was better. So these are also some of the challenges, sir, as you added, apart from the most important natural factors, including climate change, like where we need to make even the scenarios for climate change, which we have not done, especially in a region like Telangana. It may not be really possible to see in the foresee Telangana as an agriculture dominant state, because already we are very close to about 50% urban area, 50% rural area. So in this scenario, the government also investments in the GDP and to the economy of the state and the total livelihoods that have been addressed and well-being of the people, income of the people. So in addition, do you think they will still continue to encourage this agriculture scenario, or they are going to limit certain crops? They may say, unless you go into a much crop, fetch you say 50 lakhs per acre, 1 crore per acre, or 1 lakh per acre through different schemes. So, this kind of intervention by the systems, basically.
You mean to say the real estate is dominating and then prices are going up? That's what you are trying to say?
The land value is one different aspect, sir. Definitely, that is making the farmers to deviate from their practices. And we see mostly in peri-urban area, almost all the lands are left fallow, and the farmers' sources of income have changed altogether, because they are lending it for renting that space or going for real estate or many other things.
This is again another factor, the land use and the extent of land being used for agriculture is getting reduced, apart from the climate and other reasons which impede or which prevent the farmer, see, from getting or exploiting the agriculture for better productive purposes. This factor of semi-urban, as you rightly said, semi-urban areas, under the anticipation that they will further speak better prices, many of the people, by selling limited land and retaining another few acres of land across the main roads or say the highways, most, I don't say most, and some of the areas you see are kept unused, especially near the cities and towns. With the result, you see, they are not becoming cultivated. So this is again a factor. Although some water can be used, the water can't go to those fields, some others can use the water. But coming to the land extent, this is becoming a problem, and therefore, to that extent, over the time, the irrespective of the crops that one plant, the crop, the extent of crop over space and time will come down. So with the result,
Exactly. The definition of cropping pattern is the same thing. Temporally we should see, and the pattern we have to see.
yes, exactly. When crop land is getting reduced, when the crop requirement is more as people population rises, whether in the case of pricing, whether demand and supply is making an equation. So this production versus the population rise also does come into the picture at a point, at a later stage. So this is where governments will have to think, and more so because the climatic zones are changing. Changing means even if they were diversified, they were following certain pattern earlier. Now, same is not the case now. There are so many variabilities within the variable. So therefore, governments will be it will be very difficult for governments also to think on those lines and help farmers. So therefore, technologies must be brought in to overcome these ill effects of ill effects, in the sense the parts played by the nature on the soil or on the crop or whatever that matters for the agriculture. So either in terms of the floods or in terms of drought, when you are able to anticipate, you will perhaps think of some measures during the crop raising itself. That's what I am trying to say. Especially when prices are coming down, land extent is coming down. Definitely, the farmer will be farmer, or even including the consumers, the so-called people eating the food, also will have to think and remember farmer. Then perhaps the farmer's role, when appreciated by people, then automatically the respect comes for the farmer. Till such time, I doubt farmers will have any respect.
Farmers' choice of demand and supply is mostly limited, sir, with this improved communications, transportation, and this demand supply being met from anywhere in the country, actually. Because
True.
the mobility of goods has become so convenient. Overnight,
Exactly.
they can travel up to 500 to 1,000 kilometers also they are traveling. This is a
True.
major concern.
Right.
Where these are open systems. See, how can one state prevent another state from going for a particular? It is a challenge. Unless we have big data, and national level policy, and you see one beautiful example recently, the onion prices and India was trying to import the onions from Turkey, see, or abroad from other countries. It means
Yes.
at the by curtailing the interest of the farmer, especially in the name of consumers, for protecting consumers, not helping farmer to get more income. So government has taken notice to see that the goods will be imported. So the existing incorporated open systems. How do we ensure that even if we decide that this state will
You can, to some extent, limit these things. Under WTO, we are expected, you see, sometimes we stand to benefit by way of exports when other countries will come to our rescue. Similarly, we're also supposed to believe in give and take. So there, the farmers are subject to difficulties in such eventualities. So we have got to live with those sort of situations. And coming to the Indian side, supply and distribution, here again, when pre-India, you have absolutely no right to stop migration, rather transportation of these commodities from one area to any part. On one hand, you want your people to survive with better prices. So much as that, you see, other states, people also will think on those lines. Therefore, stopping is not the solution. How equitably you distribute these things, see, by various means. by quick transportation or quick communication, quick auctioning, and quick connectivity of mandis, and then arranging, as other day Minister of State was telling country, that he is arranging 6 lakh vehicles, new vehicles now. They will become handy for transportation from mandis to other places. So these sort of things will help the farmer. It's not only discovering the prices. It is only to enable that these discovered prices are immediately captured by way of sending these goods to them as quickly as possible. It's more so the perishables and foods. So the earlier factors were why should the tomatoes be spread on the roads with anguish? You see, farmer may be doing it. So it is in a civic society like ours, the government's keeping remaining silent, and farmers resorting to those sort of things without looking for ways and means to safeguard their interest by way of storing these things using proper methods like processing, valuation, things like that. So all these things will do come in. We would have discussed umpteen number of times in different fora on touching on those specific subjects. If the what do you call, you can even think of SEZ, small mini SEZs in the mandal areas. So these climatic zones is one aspect. Beside the climatic zones, and think of the crops, think of storing them in those warehouses for short-term storage, or cold storage for medium and long-term storages. And after discovering prices, you can think of forward trading also. You reserve your price between two fellows, between Assam and Hyderabad, and say, conclude a deal with Assam fellow that you will be sending after 3 months or 2 months or 1 month, and keep that 1 month storage here, and then send him after 1 month to him. So that way you can think of, you know, saving, rather balancing the demand and supply by way of short-term storages and then short-term distance movements through transport, instead of running the transport all the way longer distance when there is no need. You can preserve it at your point and then sell it forward through forward trading and get your prices. So all methods can be thought over in this thing. So you can perhaps give your view on this
Yeah.
depending on your experience.
Yes, sir. As you rightly said, the infrastructure, everything that is available, that is one aspect. See this whole food security issue in a different perspective. Food security is ultimately it's a national thing actually. It's the interest of a nation to provide food security. Second thing is some states have a kind of viewpoint. If farming sector is not contributing much to the GDP of the state or the nation, then when they are going for a irrigation project, water comes because out with the other states or regional issues and many things, finally they have conveyed this water to a farmer's field. So when cultivating a crop and the total investment gone for a government is so high, even the loans they cannot repay immediately. But the government cannot sell as a profitable thing, no margin or better improvement in the livelihoods of farmers. So the engagement of farmer in a life activity, not economic improvement of that farmer. So finally, somebody will say, instead of giving this water freely to a farmer, why don't you give for about a liter? I will use many of you. See, it's a fundamental thing. Second thing is, it is also the interest of the whole nation. Each state, how much roles and responsibilities they have taken, ensure within their state, this much land is allocated, this much farmers are engaged, or this much food is produced. And finally, coming to a farmer level, it is never, they are not looking at the food security of a nation. They are looking at their own survival. There is sustainability in the subsistence they are trying to of government or buying few things again from other parts. So that's how they made a survival and a kind of livelihoods. So in this kind of situation, see, there are 3-4 interests which I have brought you. One interest is security. You want to benefit for like their schemes and all that, like that, or we want to be self-sustainable. So these are the situations now. How do you see this one?
Hello.
Yeah, please continue.
The days to come, what I visualize, although I'm not expert on those things, but my sixth sense is telling, as I could even see visually what is happening in our places. But land use is one aspect. The uncertainty in the climate is another aspect. Agroclimatic changes, their shapes are not known to us. How they are going to change shapes are not known. And how far these technologies are quite appropriate to meet these changed conditions of the climate, and so also the soil. So this is where the technologies definitely will play a role for the crop patterns. So they are becoming so dynamic now. The crop patterns will be very, very, very difficult in the days in the dynamic situations. This is where right from prime minister down to all the chief ministers will have to think these unexpected things happening to the agriculture, and see how far your vision goes to see that the agriculture is not in doldrums due to those conditions. Therefore, you can't blame the farmer. Farmer becomes king, not in right times. If he is given deserving respect when he is supplying food, I salute the farmer or I salute the government. But when farmer gets undue credit is when such eventualities are imposed on the nature, or nature imposes those conditions on the people. And farmer will be in a very helpless state to produce and meet this sustainability. Then farmer will be prized. Farmer perhaps will be taken on procession, and then he will be respected much more. I'm sorry, I'm not wishing all that to happen. Why allow things to go to that extent? Therefore, it's better to anticipate the future of the agriculture from that sustainability angle, keeping the interest of the farmer in mind. See, whatever doles you are giving, thinking that farmer is getting just like that, we don't need doles to the farmers. So think of a better seed. Instead of asking seed to be used 3 times, what is the point in saying, come on, you see, it is so minimal input in particular case of price. So after all 40, I don't say after all 44. So 44 into say maximum 30, say about 1,000 rupees compared to a sale of 30, 40,000. So what I'm trying to say is the input costs have to be reduced. I do agree. I'm not saying input is less or more. It is so minimal. The basic point is that input should give more productivity to the farmer by way of, even if it is necessary every year, you may have to think of giving certified seed instead of asking farmer as if there is going to be a lot of saving by way of third time uh, use of this saved seed from his own field. There is nothing wrong. Our elders used to save the seed. Those conditions were different earlier. Now the changed soil productive conditions, now the health of soil, and with the changed climate, perhaps you have to think of using the word seed replacement rate with 33%, 50%, as some scientist was mentioning today or yesterday. Why it should be 33, 50%? You can think of giving a seed for every year. No, come on, scientists, please work on those lines and see that the seeds you see as input value should be increased, its health should be increased. The 3 times use doesn't mean the health of the seed is protected there. the quality, the health will not be obtained. Therefore, think of not using more than once or twice the seed and with better characteristics, genetical characteristics or varietal improvement. And then decide this. You don't give any tools to the farmer. Give the best seed possible and improve. See the methods of productivity and the profitability. And there comes the question of the selection of the crop or
So it means
limiting the crops to the areas based on agroclimatic zones.
it means
Please go ahead.
seed is one of the dominating decisive factor in seeing the cropping pattern in a geography. It has something to do with the policy now, because the seed is centralized mostly because of the seed production companies and all that, and a farmer cannot have that kind of other GMO kind of things. So now they are dependent on centralized sources. So that is one of the policy issues which also addresses the cropping pattern in a geography. Is it so, sir?
True. In a GMO, who says GMO is bad? Unless GMO is perhaps when you think of a climatic zone, you decide the cluster and see that a vegetable will not be raised nearer to GMO crops. If one thinks GMO crop is affecting the nearby other vegetable or fruit crops, please be judicious in selecting the areas, like how you are selecting um, the tolls now for farmer, right? Giving some amount, CR for this crop and that crop. You please decide that GMO crops should be confined to these areas, and then see that the management goes properly, and then the required productivity levels can be raised by deploying all these external, the extension people, or think of, as I was telling other day, the farming schools can be laid, or think of SEZs near mandals where you can have all these farm demonstration feeds, see, for various things for rainfed, as well as rice, as well as the creation of the implements. You can have some sheds, see, to produce the implements, and then try those implements in those 100 acres of mini SEZ earmark for these mandals for the farmers. See that all the aspects of agriculture,
Yeah, coming to this,
variabilities can be minimized through these by employing these methods, or the by reserving these so-called infrastructure with these provisions, like demonstration of various fields with improvised methods. GMO cotton is there. You see how GMO cotton management is well planned in those SEZ areas, and show to the farmers, see, all these things, thereby helping him overcome all the deficiencies, and then give all those so-called implements or devices to them to measure or to deploy to inhibit the pests or to mitigate the pests. So things like that, management aspects can be thought of.
yeah, most important another factor which decides cropping pattern is, sir, the geographically the availability of the labor or both. Where
So
the labor availability is very costly or not available, and seasonally only they are available, and then where there are combined in the recent years, the farmer is unable to make decision when he is in between two farmers doing something else. Let us say two farmers in the upper reach and lower reach. The middle farmer has no choice. Even if you want to go for any other irrigated dry crop, he can go. So these are the labor impact. I think in a given area, because all other farmers are doing that, so by default, even for market or even aggregating or bargaining a better price. So like that, all these things happen in a particular area, and with FPOs also coming into picture, they also might become a decisive these organizations. with the farmers, because they'll simply say you cultivate this particular crop so that we can collectively market it and do the business like that. A micro.
Like our elders about 200, 300 years ago, we were having golden days.
Mhm.
I don't think we were suffering. You see, if you see the British history, when they wrote about Indian history, we were having golden days. Where was this temples having so many gold jewelers stocked there? It is all the virtues, the resources of the people. The so-called farmers used to be very, very rich those days. But somehow, I don't know, it has taken a twist in the total scenario. But coming to the point, see, when population increases there, naturally that would have been a contributing factor. But irrespective of contribution, I mean, rise in the population, now we can think of how best you distribute your produce, either as it is or through value addition. We keep talking on and on about processing and the FPOs playing their roles and then increasing the FPOs as required for doing the trade. And it is not as if the consumption has come down. It is question of supply not reaching to the right people in the right places in the right time. The consumption is supposed to have come down. If one can think of making these things available at a reasonable price, there is absolutely not anything to think that farmer will suffer on account of prices here afterwards. Even governments need not have to decide, come on, you two, we earmark this area for your rice or for cotton or this. Those sort of things may not arise at all. The farmer should and will have an opportunity to choose what he wants to grow, and he will grow. In a dynamic situation, none can stop and no one should stop. No issue should stop because the dynamic situation with space and time, he has to decide what best suits for him.
But
So,
indirectly, the very policies of the government, sometimes they are helping the farmer to limit to particular choice of crop. The best example is, there are some direct incentives that are given by government. There are some indirectly given other crops. Let us say urea and many other factors, the subsidized things. That is one aspect under input. The seed is also another factor, and also the irrigation projects, the investments made in a particular geographic area, so that you're encouraging this kind of crops in the area. The schemes which are distributed by the government for use of crop are anything available, or the Kisan Yojana of the Prime Minister. So here, this particular scheme, like per acre 8,000 rupees per year, it doesn't make a farmer to put a crop. That's okay. He can have any crop as per his choice. That's fine. That's very good. But in the other aspect, of land for the total investments made or free power that is given, or all the subsidies or fertilizers or many things right from central state government things given, but what is coming out ultimately, if it doesn't get justified, or the farmer need to make a choice in such a way that really it doesn't improve livelihood also. Let us say I have a capsicum variety which is yellow color, red color, or some other color, which fetches me very good money, and probably I can claim that from 1 acre I am claiming 50 lakhs, I am claiming 75 lakhs, I am claiming 1 crore income also. There are people who are claiming like that. Okay. Then when it comes to an ordinary farmer, if we cultivate only such high-end products again, which are meant for export to some other country, which are exclusive products for some rich people to access or to buy.
all things have to go together. You see, it's not question of high value, low high value. See,
Yeah.
after all, human beings require all sorts of things to eat, right from cereals to vegetables to the fruits. So, depending again on their value. Suppose whether a poor man can afford to take mangoes, well, it depends. See, they are meant to be used by people, for better health. Why should not poor man take?
Then in this case, sir, the fundamental question is a farmer is not behaving like a businessman. That is the fundamental thing we have to realize. A farmer is
He is
a
helpless because
middleman.
he is helpless because of his what do you call either qualification or his abilities or the awareness and capacity, insufficient capacity building with him to approach people or to overcome the things see happening in the field. All such factors are there.
No, if we
Once the agriculture comes in the hands of semi-educated or educated people, slowly the reformist tendencies will creep in. That means thinking will come in. So therefore, availability, affordability, all factors you see will be made known to them through the communication or information. They will be more alert, and then they will be business-like here afterwards. So
no, if
therefore,
we,
it
if
should go to the hands of the educated people, I would say.
so if we take a scenario, sir, now the old generation farmers are almost all they are disappearing because of this education system and other factors. Now new generation of farmers are coming who are educated, they are smart, they have more information, and they are using some kind of applications and online sources also to make some judgments. And here, once they start thinking like a businessman, some of the farmers, then definitely the scenario will be completely different. Because once they start producing these exclusive products, high-end value products, then who will decide what is to be cultivated? Because the only option left here is if you want really food security as a national issue, then in this kind of situation, if government gives salary to a farmer and asks them to cultivate the crop of their choice in the interest of the nation, then it is fine. There is no issue for a farmer. But when such securities are not there, when every day 50 farmers are committing suicide, going into debt trap, they are nearly spending more than 2 lakh crores of debt every year on them. They are putting and then they are serving the society. This is the recent statistics. So when they are doing such a service for no reason, for if they really go for reasoning,
What I would like to tell is injudicious use of fertilizer should stop, and soil fertility and productivity should increase. It's not easier, as I say, but you have to governments and then farmers societies and then scientists will have to sit across the table and then make these farmer class aware of all these factors, and then see how far the soil fertility can be improved to increase the productivity so that the profitability will automatically come. And there comes the question of where to sell this product. Then when there is equitable distribution spread all over the country where the gaps are found, and then these are supplied, once again I am repeating, through these enam portals or by other means. Some kiosks can be kept in different areas where they can sell different points. They can be interconnected, and these kiosks can be supplied. Kiosks means like containers. See, shops can be kept at different places, and they can in turn contact different people. And SEZs also can play a role in giving information to these container shops. So this sort of PCOs being used earlier for communication between different stations all over India. These marketing centers also can be contacted for the availability of different things. So there the stability I'm sure should come by way of the communication and information, and then prices also are likely to get stabilized, and accordingly people can plan depending on agroclimatic zones. You can't produce as you like in whatever crop you like, and based on those conditions appropriate for the crops, taking the climatic factor also into account in the days to come. So you have to plan appropriate crops with proper seeds, and then better agricultural practices have to be evolved. followed by all these cropping patterns, either intercropping or mixed cropping or agroforestry or the horticulture crops. You have to balance between all these factors. So much of dynamism the governments should think of by involving people like us. You see, not taking only the scientists and then technologists into consideration, taking the experienced farmers like us, not necessarily me or you, but anybody for that matter who matter in giving appropriate advices or the wisdom to the governments, and government should come forward to take the wisdom from such resources and then see how far these handicaps can be mitigated or overcome.
Probably I am just getting a kind of clue from this Kyoto Protocol, sir, that CO2 emissions, how they are calculated.
That's
Actually,
right.
greenhouse gases are many, but
Right.
major are around 6-7 major greenhouse gases are there. But for
Right.
calculation sake, what they are doing is per ton of CO2, they are equating, like methane is this many times more potent. Then by
Right.
equating that gas emission with the CO2, they are able to put a value. Can we put similarly for all the crops? Because nutrition is also an important aspect. It is food is not food unless there is, it has like Sanna BM, even if you say the thin rice or this fat rice or boiled rice or parboiled rice, many names are given for the rice also. So again, we need to equate this factor so that apart from the risk factor also we have to inbuilt in that thing formula. So if you can build a kind of price policy for whatever goods they produce, but ultimately based on the yield, average yield factor, yes, a farmer having worked for 1 year in 1 acre of land for this many days, he has the right to get this much income. So this assurance should come from, that is most important, that is not happening. Second thing is the variability in high income, low income between choice of crops is also pushing farmers to go for only a kind of particular crops. You see, we say citrus fruits. Suddenly people are gone and they don't have market, and the groundwater has fallen so drastically in the geographic regions because of climate change and successive droughts, and they are nowhere. What do? See, ultimately, because this kind of things are coming up because they saw at that time, it's a perennial crop, long-term crop. The seasonal crops are also there. So unless we have a kind of common formula emerging, which will help even a farmer who has gone for tomatoes, who has gone for paddy, who has gone for carrots, who has gone for capsicum, or different kinds of even commercial crops also. So unless there is a kind of balance in pricing, which the government should control, already they are doing it, they are buying it. Now the government has no option to buy
You
also.
can't, you can't, honestly speaking, you can't expect governments to come to our rescue in respect of the pricing factor or in respect of controlling farmer to produce only this type of
Yes,
crops.
sir, but MSP is
They have got to educate all the farmers class, taking all the factors into account, future factors into account, and see that including malnutrition factor. So you think of like Telangana Sona, you say you attribute it has less glycemic index, therefore it is good. It is not sugar free, but it helps, you see, in controlling the diabetic to some extent. And like that, you have fortification, biofortification by including vitamins and then minerals. And as you rightly said, the malnutrition component or the index perhaps can be thought over in future days to come. Those crops also will have to be perhaps discovered in the sense infuse these components, and say malnutrition can be reduced with the crop itself, the produce from the crop itself, rather than using any elements, minerals as a substitute. So there are so many things one can think of. But coming to the irrigation aspect here, the governments definitely are doing their best. In fact, if you calculate per kg of rice and then the water used as
your
brought
virtual
from these
water.
projects, it doesn't work out for the government. There, I don't know whatever advices they have got. When the state is in debt in future, that state farmer will never, should not or will not be happy as far as my poor thought is rather telling me. So I don't know what governments will do under these conditions. So I'm forthright in my view. And the farmer also will be in difficulty in such situation. So he has got to think of ways and means to select appropriate crops and see with the education how far his crop can fetch him the better price, not going by the other aspects of the government. The self-reliance of the farmer in days to come, with proper awareness and capacity building, supplemented or complemented by the technologies, and those technologies will have to take all these factors, unknown factors, into account. The people working today in these institutions should not find their place in their institutions. They should all come out of their institutions at least for 1 year. And they must be asked to spend their time in the fields and see every inch of the land, how it behaves and what is happening in these agroclimatic zones. That is the ultimate that is coming to my mind.
Yeah.
So I'm forced to tell these things having gone through my difficulties in the farming for the last 8 to 10 years.
So the cropping itself is the fundamental thing, sir. The types of crops being grown in a geographic area or a country, mostly they are exotic nowadays. And with GMOs and hybridization and all that, again, they are not at all relevant to one geography. That could be a combination of the global thing. The food is global now, it means. Second thing is when farmers getting motivated to see somebody quinoa, okay, it has so much value. It's a Latin American or exotic crop. Somebody they are cultivating in parts of Telangana. And suddenly somebody is cultivating apples from Kashmir in Telangana. So geographically, it is not this ecotype to grow such kind of crops. Second thing is food and nutrition was geographical, especially when it was considered the health of people, because which was inbuilt within the culture of the people, what to consume, what not to consume, what to avoid, what to take. All these things had been there, integrated. And now that thing also we have avoided. See now this new cropping trend and pattern in the name of commercially selling because we are fetching higher price or for some other reason. When people are going beyond, even we have phytosanitation in the airports, even to get one plant, people will be questioned 100 times. Yes, they are controlling what to get come into a country and what not to come. So similarly, why can't we control the crops which are also at the detriment of the local people's health, especially including other life, many birds, insects, many things integrated like pollination, many things are interdependent. So these things have a regional this thing imbalances will happen. So unless within the system they take these corrective measures or to preventive measures, not just seeing somebody is doing innovatively something and everybody taking as a model and just following up like emu birds. It's a emu bird is from Australia. Why we are getting emu birds all the way and cultivating here? So emu egg, it was one of the costliest egg. Now where is that industry now today? Why did they push all the farmers into that farming again? So similarly, like many things are happening which come as part of models which are brought by our own
So
agriculture.
you can perhaps think of nutri cereals.
Yeah,
Nutri cereals like ragi and then sabza, you see in Telugu. So you have foxtail, all those say 6 to 8 cereals. You see, we can always bring back into the system. Then people can be slowly habituated to eating these
yeah,
sort of nutri cereals with some supplements. They cannot take as it is like that. They can mix with something and then increase the taste, and then people can overcome malnutrition by this sort of nutrients and then micronutrients in a simple way, with not leading to extra costs. Only thing is a matter of re orienting, you see, the farmers to the old crops. I hope those things also can be thought over by the governments or by the farmers or by the people by making them accustomed to eating this sort of cereals.
Probably, sir, the governments and all the people involved in this agriculture sector should prepare the scenario reports for various micro geographies also, micro basins also. And with
Right.
the existing infrastructure like irrigation, power, the soil analysis and microclimate and probable climate change conditions that would happen in the near future. And the market demands and the population estimations and the kind of changes in the habits of the people also. So with this kind of scenario and assessing the markets driven approach, so there need to be this cropping pattern analysis, and the government, if they can give some indices to farmers, if you go for this ABCD crops, okay, it will be secure crop. If you go for these crops, it will lead you
Okay.
to more debt or it can lead you to more risky. And these crops are okay. Sometimes they go for high yield and very good price, but again they are high risk crops like that. So you see the locusts or many things are happening now with this climate change. So even the vulnerability, not just from one factor, but from not just market factor, but various other natural factors also. And the mechanization and this artificial intelligence, as well as the use of satellite imageries, one can easily monitor the cropping pattern using the drones or including these balloons and kites, something like that. One can have IP cameras and they can continuously monitor even the irrigation monitoring can be done perfectly, and we know.
Where are the universities doing these things? It's by sitting with farmers, knowledgeable farmers,
Yeah,
and with
so
knowledgeable technicians and knowledgeable experts.
true, sir.
Where is the system today? And then the right from middle school, you have to include your syllabus, even farming or agriculture as a subject, compulsory subject. And somewhere in the 10th class, see, it should be made compulsory, and then one 2 3 months before going to college, say 2 3 months summer camps see, should be conducted so that boys see, can get trained there. So if one wants to do, there are so many ways of cultivate. I mean, showing the methods towards bettering the agriculture with this sort of methods.
True, sir. And I think some of the aspects that we discussed are related to not only the geographically to one point, but also globally. This has relevance for any country or any space. All the factors are similar, not just one government, but again, it there the FAO and other international organizations should also come into picture. Now with the theme telling that local, not global. This is a reverse theme that happened with COVID-19 scenario. All governments are looking at the local sustainability. So this Gram Swaraj, what Gandhiji has said. Now today, people are thinking how they could have these sustainable crops locally, sustainable not only food security but all the requirements locally, and they could sustain because now, with this lockdown, only the local systems could sustain the existing population, not this international goods exchange and travel. Nothing is happening now. Everything is locked down. So we can also limit the risk of a person if it is local. It will be very, very limited. Now you see how the stock exchanges have collapsed, how the total cropping pattern in some geographies anticipating my soya will be exported to so and so country. Even China was importing soya from America. The things are very typical. So like that, many things, geographical things have also got to stand still, and hoping that,
Destabilized.
yeah, hoping that this scenario will also help governments to think how to make this closed loops locally and regionally with these farmers as the core people. Around them, the economies need to be built not on the industrial or other sectors, service sector. They come later. Everybody is locked down now. Only the
Yeah,
person.
all the societies have come only after the prosperity of agriculture over centuries
Exactly,
or
exactly.
nearly 5,000, 6,000 years ago. All this India, Egypt, UK, they all came up through the agricultural revolution only. Now that they have stabilized, they may speak so many things. I think the cycle will repeat and then a good day will come, the farming class. Let us hope the best. See, with all these measures taken, I'm sure governments opening their eyes and they're thinking giving doles will matter only to the farmer, not other things. So therefore, farmers also have to think on these lines and then help themselves by advanced thinking. So let us hope the best for the farmers. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. It had been very enriching discussion between two of us on this issue of the cropping pattern, especially, which addresses so many other issues also around that. Not only the national security, that is food security as the top security, but also the livelihoods of the people who are dependent on this agriculture. That is a major portion in a country. So thank you very much, sir. Thank you again.